Good afternoon. I'm Dan DeRose with 19 News, coming to you from our digital desk. We thought we would take a look at gas prices on this Monday. You may have noticed a little bit of a relief. I'm not even going to call them cheap prices in the Cleveland area, but we are seeing some relief according to the gas tracking website GasBuddy. If you look at the Cleveland area in just the last 2 weeks, dating back to about April 18th, we've dropped about 31 cents. That's a good move. So we'd like to always find out why. We always come to you when prices go up by 30 cents. So we want to find out why prices have gone down by 31 cents in the last couple of weeks and where we might head here in the future. So let's welcome in, as we always do. He is the petroleum analyst for GasBuddy, Patrick DeHaan. Patrick, how are you today?
Good to be with you, Dan. I'm terrific, thanks.
Yeah, this is, we always like bringing you in when when we're getting some relief. So let's start there. Why have prices in Northeast Ohio gone down some 30 cents in the last 2 weeks?
Well, certainly some of this is price cycling. What goes up eventually comes down. That's what we've been seeing here for the last few weeks. It's been enhanced, though, by a decline in the price of oil. Oil prices fell almost 7% last week. Some of that was after a worse than expected jobs report, which may indicate then that the economy is slowing. Oil prices dropped on that. Now, not only are oil prices declining, or had they declined, but we're kind of getting over the hump, so to speak, on some of those seasonal factors that drive prices up. The transition to summer gasoline is now behind us. Refineries are also wrapping up maintenance, and they're starting to boost output of gasoline. That's putting a little bit of downward pressure on what you see at the pump. As you mentioned, average prices down about 30 cents here over the last couple of weeks. But while we certainly love to see that, I would say that with price cycling happening every few weeks, that will probably do for a little bit of a jump here at some point later this week. Prices could go up to $3.59, maybe back up to $3.69. Again, that's a cycle that repeats every couple of weeks. But I think for the time being, the good news is that we probably have plateaued, at least for the next couple of months, in terms of average gas prices.
And that's incredible news when you start thinking about this idea of supply and demand. The more people that are driving, the higher the demand, and we are getting into that summer driving season. Give us some sort of idea forecast. My family is planning a trip to, let's say, Michigan in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months. We know Cedar Point opened this weekend, so you have a lot of people trying to decide, should I wait to fill up? What do you see for this summer, if you can give us any kind of, and obviously there's no crystal ball when it comes to gasoline prices, but what does it look like maybe for the summer driving months?
Well, I think for most of us here in the Midwest, Dan, we'll probably see gas prices fluctuating a bit in the mid $3 a gallon range. There'll be days when there are some stations that may be below $3 and others may be closer to $3.80. But all in all, I think most of the summer stuck in the mid $3 range. I would say, though, if you're planning a road trip later this summer in August, whether it's to Cedar Point or someplace up in Michigan or down south, hurricane season is forecast to be particularly active this year. Keep in mind, hurricanes can impact major refineries down in areas like Louisiana and Texas. So there's going to be a little bit of risk going into August and September for Labor Day. Gas prices could react to any major storm in the Gulf of Mexico, but I think between June and July, prices will probably be bouncing around the low to mid $3 mark. I do not see any expectation that we hit $4. But again, there are things that are unexpected that can develop, things like Middle East tensions, but I think the risk of that is relatively low.
So I've obviously followed Patrick on Twitter. He's a phenomenal resource when it comes to all things, not just gas, but oil and refinery. Patrick, one of the questions that you always seem to have to deal with on Twitter and social media is that as we get closer to November, that somehow the president has something to do, has a major hand on the dial of gas prices. You always like to dispute that, so I'm going to let you do that for our viewers, whether it's President Joe Biden, whether it's former President Donald Trump. When it comes to these large cycles, when we're back under, $2 a gallon, and now that we're up close to $3.50, $4 a gallon, you like to remind people the president has very little to do with this. Why?
Yeah, a lot of this is simply that the US is just one of over 190 countries that consumes and produces crude oil globally. And one sitting president, whether it be the president of the US or any other country, really pales in comparison to the power of economics. That is, global supply and demand have much more of an impact on what you're paying at the pump than any president can have, regardless if they'd like to make you think that somebody's at fault or somebody can take credit. Really what credit is global supply and demand. That is, economics are really what's behind the change in prices. As we go into summer, demand goes up. We have more expensive blends of summer gasoline. That's why prices rise in the spring. They stay higher in the summer. But that's also why prices start going down as we approach the fall in November. As you mentioned, prices will go down as we approach the election. It has nothing to do with who's on the ballot. It has everything to do the fact that Americans simply drive less in the fall months as temperatures start cooling off. So again, all of this is very much seasonal, and no matter who's in the White House, there's very little impact to global oil prices and global gas prices.
Very nice explanation there. Patrick, I want you to really hit one out of the park here when we start talking about GasBuddy and summer trips. Why can GasBuddy be such an incredible tool for anybody planning a, maybe you're just going one state over, maybe you're going 3-4 states over. Why should people be using GasBuddy?
Well, even in your backyard, Dan, many of us know that gas prices can vary. Some stations 10, 20, even 40 or 60 cents a gallon higher or lower. And some of those big disconnects happen in areas like Ohio. If you head east to Pennsylvania, everyone knows prices are about 40 to 50 cents a gallon higher when you cross that state line. So wherever you're going, whether it's in state or out of state, knowing what gas prices are and what's a good price and what's not can save you significant amounts filling your tank up. And an app like GasBuddy or Google or Waze will show you without having to drive around what gas prices are all around you. Of course, there's other ways to save, loyalty programs. GasBuddy has a pay card. Nobody should be paying what that retail price says for that gasoline. There's a lot of different ways to spend a lot less.
Excellent. Patrick DeHaan, petroleum analyst with GasBuddy. You're extremely knowledgeable. We appreciate your expertise once again today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks as always for having me, Dan.
All right, take care, Patrick. Just again, this idea of why are our prices fluctuating. We don't like to bring you bad news when gas prices go up by 30%, but we do like to tell you when prices have come down 30 cents a gallon or so, and the reason for that. If we have any other breaking news, it'll be right here on our digital platforms. Otherwise, look for 3.5 hours of news and weather coming up at 3 o'clock. It's been a busy day in Northeast Ohio, so you'll want to make sure you tune in to Channel 19. Until then, I'm Dan DeRosa with 19 News. Have a great afternoon.
19 News is everywhere. Download our CTV apps and follow us on social media.